What up, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. I am your host, Nerd Cosa Nostra, and this is Reign of Horror. And it is currently still Sunday, November 3rd. I hope everyone had a great weekend. Hope everyone had a great Sunday as it starts to wind down. And we all start to find ourselves in that familiar position of already questioning our life decisions. We're already questioning how badly do we need that job as we start to dread as the clock winds down and ticks away, tomorrow being Monday, and having to go back to being adults, go back to adulting, and having to work that 9 to 5. So never fun, but got those bills to pay, got to eat somehow. So obviously sucks to have to work. Be nice if we could just live life, but that's not reality, right? So anyways, I hope again everyone's had a great weekend. Been a very, very quiet Sunday here at Reign of Horror. Did come across a few things, a few updates to some topics we previously have talked about on here. I did come across, we finally got a date for Predator Badlands as far as the release date goes. So I did come across that. And of course, as I've mentioned, I don't know how many times I've mentioned this in the short time, in the short lifespan of this channel, but I have mentioned it on other channels, on other streams that I am involved in, have been involved in, as far as my opinions on reboots and remakes. I've come across 2 updates for 2 more, one reboot and one, I don't know if it's necessarily a remake as it is. Well, we don't know if it's going to be a remake. Let's put it that way. All we know is that it's going to be based on a character that has been done multiple times already, and has already had a remake, and a failed remake at that. And I don't know. It almost feels like the time has passed for this one. I mean, even the sequel to the original took roughly 23 years or so, 22, 23 years to come about, and even then that sequel wasn't very successful. Why we would have decided for this particular film to do a sequel so far away from the original, and then continue again with a TV movie, and then try to do the reboot, which the reboot again, or the remake, was an absolute failure. So apparently we're gonna throw some more money at this series, at this character, at this franchise, and we're gonna give it another go. So we'll cover that when we get to it. And like I always like to do, as again, if you've watched any of the previous daily updates, daily episodes, I always like to kind of round out the show with a top 10 or a top 15 of something, in which we do have one of those for tonight. So it's gonna be a pretty quick show tonight. Again, it's Sunday evening. Gonna finish up this episode tonight, and relax a little bit myself before heading into the work week tomorrow, and seeing what additional horror news we get this coming week. So let's jump right into our first topic. And again, like I mentioned, we've covered this on the show previously. We've covered this topic about Predator Badlands. And we've covered the topic of Predator, and we've covered the topic of Alien. Not so much Alien as we have Predator. The only direct topic we covered off on Alien was the release. Hasn't released yet. The pre-order, I should say, of Alien Romulus, the V8, the special edition, limited edition VHS that the studio was releasing, which went up for pre-order last Friday. But I think within hours it had sold out, and I think the only place you were able to pre-order it was from Walmart.com. And again, by the time that morning, I think again it was on I want to say it was either Friday the 1st or the previous Friday, but either way, it went up for pre-order that morning. When we first saw the confirmation that was put out there, they were available, but within a few hours, and definitely by the time we did the daily show, it had already sold out. So I'd imagine there were obviously a limited quantity. It didn't mention on the site, nor could I find anywhere in any publication article that said, hey, we're only making like 500 of these, right? Similar to when we shared the news on a late night with the devil VHS, the glow in the dark VHS, regular edition and the bookcase edition. The green one, the green glow in the dark, was only being limited to 150. So again, at least with that one, when you pre-ordered it, you knew if you were going to have a chance of getting that one or not, and what quantity it was in. But with the Alien and Romulus, there was no set number, and I have yet to confirm or see a set number. But either way, it sold out pretty quick, and I'd imagine we can expect to see when those start shipping on December 3rd, so a little bit, so about a month from today. We're going to expect to see those hit eBay, and I wouldn't be surprised if there are already some listings on eBay for those who have confirmed their pre-order, that they're already trying to sell it in advance of the release. And I think it was roughly, after tax, I saw it being listed for almost $50. So I'd imagine it's probably going to go easy. Something like this will probably go for $100, because again, it's one of the, I think it's the first from a big studio VHS release outside. I mean, as I've mentioned, we got Terrifier 2 that was released on VHS ahead of Terrifier 3's drop at the cinema, which was also released at Walmart. And then we, again, as I just mentioned, A Late Night with the Devil got a VHS release. But again, coming from a major studio, Alien Romulus is being considered the first VHS in quite some time that we're getting or that we got. So if you were lucky enough to get one and pre-order one, hey, congrats. If not, and you still want it part of your collection, you're gonna probably be paying at least double the price. So happy hunting. But back to this, again, we got a date for Predator Badlands to release November 7th, 2025. So just a little over a year from today, we will get this film. So 2025 is a stacked year for genre releases, and that's putting it lightly. Now we have another release to add to the already heavy 25 calendar with Dan Trachtenberg's second Predator feature, now titled Predator Badlands. Said to be a high priority for 20th Century Studios, the standalone Predator tale is hoped to capitalize on the success of Trachtenberg's 2022 prequel, Prey. Released as a Hulu original movie, Prey became the highest rated original feature in the service's history. Later, Prey would also garner the honor of being the first horror movie to win an Emmy. Given all that success, it was theorized that 20th Century Studio would up the ante with Badlands releasing the film theatrically. Let me scroll down a little bit more here. Now we can confirm Predator Badlands will debut theatrically and will release worldwide on November 7th, 2025. Bolstered by streaming success of Prey and the enormous profit turned by Alien Romulus, Badlands stands a decent chance at the box office, and we're intrigued to see how it performs. Badlands is set to further expand the Predator universe, opening the titanular species up to a greater number of time periods and settings, said to be set, quote, in the near future, end quote. The film will follow two very different sisters. Just lost my spot. Hold on, guys. Their familia bond will be put to the ultimate test when they both pursue a very deadly mission. The neon demon star Ellie Fanning will take the lead with no further cast members announced publicly. Filming on the project recently wrapped in New Zealand under the working title Backpack. That's an interesting title. So not only has the Xenomorph made a triumphant return to the big screen, but the Predator hopes to do the same. Will the studio see similar returns, or could an oversaturated release calendar work against not only Badlands but several films on the roster? So let's touch on that last bit. As far as a heavy calendar next year, I don't think that hurts really any film. I think if you have, I think we're as fans wanting to see more films out there in the theater. I think this year, yeah, we had some good ones, but it seemed like there was huge gaps of time where we just didn't get a lot of films all at once. Like there'd be 3 or 4 months, and then you get a major release. 3 or 4 months, then a major release, and then it seemed like really nothing for a while. until we got towards the end of this year. Now, going into next year, I'm okay with a heavy year. Again, I think some fans are clamoring to get back into the cinema and see some of these things on the big screen. Now, I think one aspect the studios need to take in consideration is if you're going to put a movie out, put it out for longer than 3 weeks before you pull it and then put it right into streaming. I think that's one thing that they've kind of set a tone this year, where some fans have seen that happen on many occasions. And then you get fans questioning, well, if it's going to go streaming in 3 or 4 weeks, why spend triple, quadruple the amount of money to take, myself and either, 2 or 3 people with me? By the time you tickets, concessions, and all that, it's going to far outweigh the cost of just renting it on streaming, and you can just watch it in the comfort of your own home. But some people still enjoy that movie-going experience. So for me, I think it just depends on the film, whether or not I'll wait or not wait. Like I said, I'm all for saving money, especially in today's economy. But again, if it's one of those films that you just know you're going to enjoy much more on the big screen, then obviously go for it. But maybe start to pick and choose with the heavy film year going into next year. But again, I don't think having a heavy year hurts any other film. I think it just helps other films in many ways, because again, once you get people into the theater and start going back to the theater, they're going to start to potentially want to see other films that are out there. So, and of course, like the article says, and I'm not surprised, the Predator character, they're obviously trying to capitalize on the success of Alien Romulus. Now, this seems to be a back and forth. If something with Predator goes well, then something with Alien tends to start to go into production, starts to get worked on, and then vice versa. I don't know. Predator Badlands shouldn't put any dependency on whether or not it's going to be successful based on how Alien Romulus performed. For me, it's going to come down to the story. It's going to come down to the acting, the special effects, CGI, practical effects. It's going to come down to everything on that standalone film on how it can perform. It shouldn't try to ride the coattails of Alien Romulus thinking, oh, well, Alien Romulus was so great, let's just try to ride that wave and get Predator Badlands, and hopefully it's a success. Make it its own success. Make it its own great thing, and fans will want to go see it, and fans will support it. If you're not going to do that, and you're just crossing your fingers and hoping that if you loved Alien Romulus, please come see this, well, then you're going to be pretty disappointed when that word of mouth starts to spread and it's not a good opinion of the film, and it starts to tank. So we will see. Again, we're a year out from this. I don't expect we're going to see anything, whether that's images, teaser trailer, full trailer, until probably summer of next year at the earliest. So hopefully, though, before then, we'll start to see the casting round out. We might start to get a better understanding of what the film would be, what the story will be. So more to come on that. Obviously we are Predator and Alien fans here. Not so much of the Alien versus Predator films, the 2 films that were done. I thought those were just absolute trash. You can't make. I don't understand how you can make an Alien versus Predator film and not have it at least be rated R. That just doesn't make sense to me. So more to come on this one. Moving right along to our next topic, Mike Flanagan to tackle Stephen King's Carrie in new television project. So we're going to read through this briefly real quick, and then I'll give my thoughts on it. It's one of Stephen King's most popular properties, having been adapted 3 times already, and now Carrie is set for another incarnation. Pause. That's my problem. So this is what I was alluding to at the opening of tonight's episode, is we've actually seen this more than 3 times. So I'm not sure how they're coming up with that 3, that number, but this is the number I came up with. So we have the original from 1976, which is the one I think we're all well aware of as horror fans of the genre. We're all very very versed in that original film. Then you had, again, as I mentioned, 23 years later, in 1999, you had The Rage, Carrie 2, which was treated as a sequel to the original. It was a sequel. Hard to believe they waited that long to do it for whatever reason. Then you had a direct-to-TV film called Carrie 3 years later in 2002, somewhere around there. And then we got the reboot in, what was it, about 10 or 11 years later. So it was around early 2010. So if I remember, memory serves me correct, I think it was 2012 into 2013. It might have been 2013. I think it was 2013 that we got the reboot or the remake of Carrie, which just was an absolute failure. Didn't garner any success. Did not do what the studio thought it was going to do. And outside of that, there was a TV special. Some of you may or may not know this. There was a CW series called Riverdale, and there was an episode that they based it on Carrie the musical. So many of the cast members dressed up as characters from Carrie the musical and kind of played it out. And yes, there was Carrie the musical that was somewhat successful. So we've had all those projects, those iterations, those whatever we want to call them of Carrie. And this series was originally, this one that we're talking about right now, was originally announced or reported in 2019 when it was going to be done by FX and MGM Television, but we obviously know what happened with MGM. They got bought out by Amazon, so now this is now coming out of Amazon MGM Studios. So little backstory, little history lesson on Carrie. Again, I'm not sure if that adapted 3 times number is primarily just focusing on the follow-up 3 films, but again, if we count, it's 4 films, a musical, and that TV special. It's kind of been touched more than 3 times. So Mike Flanagan, who's well known for his critically lauded King adaptations, has been tapped as showrunner for a new television adaptation of King's debut novel. Of course, besides his familiarity with King, Flanagan has proven an effective filmmaker when adapting horror to the small screen. He has been lauded for his takes on The Haunting of Hill House, the turn of the screw with the Haunting of Bly Manor, and the works of Christopher Pike with The Midnight Club. The proposed Carrie television series is in development at Amazon MGM Studios, with Flanagan also set to write and executive produce alongside Melinda Nashka for Intrepid Pictures. I apologize, not sure if I pronounced that correctly. As per Amazon's official log line for the project, quote, a bold and timely reimaging of the story of misfit high schooler Carrie White, who has spent her life in seclusion with her domineering mother after her father's sudden and untimely death. Carrie finds herself contending with the alien landscape of public high school, a bullying scandal that shatters her community, and the emergence of mysterious telekinetic powers. So pretty on par for what we saw in the original film. So it'll be interesting how they're going to adapt this to a TV series and maybe make some changes up. Stephen King's Carrie was first adapted for the screen in 1976 as the now classic feature starring Sissy Spacek and Piper Laurie. A second adaptation came in 2002. This time made for television and more faithful to King's novel. Most recently, Carrie hit the big screen again in 2013. So yeah, I was right, 2013. This time with Chloe Grace Moretz and Julianne Moore in the lead roles, though critically response was less than stellar. So pretty much saying how's Flanagan going to carry this out, right? How's he going to do? Will we give it a chance here at Reign of Horror? Absolutely, we'll give it a chance. We've given all the other Carrie films and attempts a chance, so we will obviously give this one a chance just to see what they can bring to the table and see if they can bring something fresh or different. I mean, it can't be too different, whether or not it's going to be based solely on the novel or if they're going to try to use something more from any of the movies as their reference material. I'd imagine they're going to use the novel. I imagine it will have some level of familiarity from the original film, but it's got to distinguish itself. It can't feel like we've just taken the 1976 film, updated to 2024, broke it out into 8 episodes, and said, "Here you go. Here's Carrie the TV series." I mean, if that's what you're going to give me, then I'll just go watch the 1976 film and not even bother. But like I just said, we will give it a chance. We will give it a try and give our thoughts, opinions, and review on it once it comes out. But until then, we don't have any release date. We don't have anything beyond that as far as just the fact that it actually is going to be moving forward. And actually, I mean, now that I'm thinking about it, there was another television attempt at this, I think. I want to. I think it was after. Was it after one of the films? I remember NBC trying to do something. I think it was right after I think it was around the time of the reboot being done. NBC was going to do a TV series on this, and they canceled it because the reboot film was not a success. So they didn't even bother doing this. So they just outright canceled the project. So there actually was already a not a full attempt. They never made it into like pre-production. It was just one of those things that was approved and was going to start kicking off. But once the film failed, they just outright canceled it. So we'll see. Hopefully this one can do it for them. So all right, so let's move on to our next topic. Again, we're as I've mentioned, my feelings about remakes and reboots. You guys know how I feel about remakes and reboots. I'm not 100% against them. I'm not 100% for them. Will I give? I mean, American Psycho reboot in the works. I mean, oh boy. So Lionsgate are fast tracking. That's even scarier. I mean, we're only four words into this article or this update, and we're already getting the term fast tracking of a reboot, which is, I don't know, not something I think I want to say here. You ever want to see a film or TV series fast-tracked? Take your time, do it right, do it correctly, and put out a good product. Don't put out something half-ass because you wanted to fast-track it and get something out there thinking it was just going to make money because of the name or because of the correlation with the previous film. So let's hope that's just the wording that the author decided to use. Lionsgate are fast-tracking a reboot of Bret Easton Ellis's American Psycho, according to reliable sources. Call Me by Your Name and Suspiria filmmaker Luca Guadagnino, again, not sure if I'm even close on pronouncing that correctly, is allegedly in final negotiations to direct the project from a new script penned by Scott Z. Burns. Burns is likely best known to genre fans for the 2011 pandemic hit Contagion. I don't know if that was a hit. I remember it. I've seen it more than a few times, but I wouldn't say it was a hit. Maybe for the time, maybe for 2011, but looking back on it now, I wouldn't say that it was a hit of a film. Sources were quick to stress that this will not be a remake of the 2000 hit starring Christian Bale, but will act as a fresh interpretation of Ellis's classic novel. That's good to know. So that's some good news. We're going to get a fresh take on the novel, because I know the original, the film with Christian Bale, while he was using the source material from the novel, there were some obviously deviations, like most directors or screenwriters take from the source material. They tend to deviate a bit, or sometimes more than a bit. So this is good that they're not just taking the previous film and rinse and repeat, right? They're gonna go back to the source material and try to come up with something fresh. So let's see here. Frenzy Films will be undertaking producing duties under the watchful eye of Sam Pressman and Pressman Films. Pressman Films was also responsible for producing Mary Harron's 2000 adaptation of American Psycho. Of the project, Lionsgate had the following to say: "We are thrilled to add another elite filmmaker to our upcoming slate. Luca is a brilliant artist and the perfect visionary to create a whole new interpretation of this potent and classic IP." End quote. Whilst there is no word on cast just yet, fans of the IP have been vocal in championing disgraced actor Armie Hammer for the role of Patrick Bateman. We'll come back to that. Whether or not anything will come of such clamoring, we'll have to wait and see. Lionsgate is said to be fast-tracking an American Psycho reboot in a bid to secure a hit picture. 2024 has so far had the studio suffer several high-profile flops, including Eli Roth's Borderlands and the ill-advised remake of 1994's The Crow. So let's take a step back here. Actually, before we get back, so Borderlands was an absolute disaster. That was one of the year's worst films. I think that film never should have been made, and especially if you're not going to stay true to the video game, because that video game series, especially Borderlands 1 and Borderlands 2, is beloved by many, and that is a hardcore fan base who loves those video games. And the film was just absolutely a disaster, and one of the biggest losses for 2024. Now, The Crow. Unfortunately, with The Crow, so many people were already going into it, already trashing the fact that it was even being done, and they were already comparing it to the original with Brandon Lee. And obviously, we all know what happened with the tragic incident that happened with him in the filming of the original Crow. And even the original director, I believe, from the first film, from the '94 film, was even coming out trashing this remake before it even released. So there was so many things up against that remake or reboot, whatever we want to call it, or actually they're calling it a remake. There were already so many things up against it, and it was already going to have a tough time winning fans over. And on top of that, it wasn't the greatest film to begin with. So that even made things even harder for it to achieve any success. So, and The Crow has been one of those franchises where it's been talked about. They did multiple sequels of The Crow off the original, which again weren't very successful. Some of them I think were even direct to DVD. So the fact that they even decided to go back and try to revamp this one for a modern audience, again, as I've mentioned, I can support a remake and a reboot, and I can't, and I won't in many cases. And I think The Crow was just one of those ones where you just leave it alone. You don't need to try to modernize it. Leave it as is and move on to a different franchise or create something new. Now let's before we move on to our last topic and wrap up tonight's show, let's jump up to the Armie Hammer news, or the potential, the clamoring or champing for it. We all know what happened with him. We all know his fall from grace. I know he's recently been coming back into the news as far as trying to get back into the industry. And I think one of the things he's trying to do is try to get involved or try to kick up a podcast to get back into the business. Even doing that, I think it's going to be tough for him, considering everything that has come out about him. And I don't know enough about it, so I can't give much of an opinion whether or not what's true, what's not true, what allegations there are, what evidence there is. I don't think he was ever arrested, prosecuted, went to trial, any of that stuff. So I'm not going to share much of an opinion on any of that. All I know is just what has been put out there, and that he's pretty much been blacklisted from the industry. He's been selling timeshares, outside the country. That's what he's been doing ever since he got blacklisted, and now he's obviously trying to make a comeback. But who knows? Who knows? Hollywood's just one of those crazy places. If there was going to be any place I was going to give him a second chance, it's going to be Hollywood. It's just whether or not the fans are going to accept him. So I think Hollywood is just one of those grimy places that they'll take him back. Look at a lot of the other things people have done in Hollywood, and they seem to, after a few months, it's all forgotten about, and they continue to churn out projects, churn out films, TV shows, and it's like things never happen. So we will see. All right, so our last topic for the night, and then we're gonna wrap things up. Again, how I like to do at the end of the show is, let's get rid of some of these ads down here, is just wrap up the show with just those top 10s, top 15s, ranking type things. I don't know. I always seem to find these interesting when, especially in our genre, right? To see what other people's opinions are, how they rank certain movies. Again, do I agree with them? Do we differ? Do you guys agree with me if we start moving things around? What are your thoughts on the list? Would you have the same set of films? Would you move things around? So this one is the top 10 most rewatchable psychological thriller movies ranked. So let's see what the 10 are. So number 10, Seven. I'm already not agreeing. I'm definitely not agreeing with the author on this one. This would not be number 10 for me. This is probably like number 1 or number 2 for me. I am shocked to see Seven at number 10. So I'm already not drinking the same Kool-Aid that this author is drinking. So we're bumping this one up. So let's do this. I'm gonna put this one at number 1, and everything else that we're gonna see now is gonna get bumped down. automatically getting bumped down. And then if 7 remains at number 1, depending upon the next 9 that we see, then 7, we already know where that's at, and everything else just moves down. So let's. I mean, I can't imagine you haven't seen. No one has seen 7 yet. Great film by David Fincher. I think it's one of his best films, by far. Definitely check it out if you haven't seen it. But again, it came out in '95. I'd be shocked if you haven't seen it. It's been 29 years, coming up on its next year. Will be its 30th anniversary. I'd be shocked if you haven't seen it. All right, let's move down. Single white female. Number 9, really? I'd move this one probably up too. I mean, just a few spots, but again, depending upon what else is on this list. Let's leave this one at number 9 for now. I remember this film. This is for the time, for '92. This was a pretty good film. But yeah, definitely I'm okay with it at number 9. But again, just gonna depend upon what else is on this list. So let's keep moving. The Lighthouse, number 8. Wow, this is a very underrated film. I know only a handful of people that have actually taken the time to watch this, and it's a great film with William Dafoe and Robert Pattinson. Black and white film. Again, it's just one of those. I think it's one of those films. Either you're gonna love it or you're gonna hate it, and you're gonna know right away whether or not it's a film for you. But again, I don't know too many people. It really went under the radar, and I think it's just been kind of forgotten about. I mean, it's already been 5 years, and I think I've heard this movie come up in very minimal conversations, and usually I'm the one bringing it up. So, again, we'll leave this one here for now. Let's see what else is on the list, and then we might move this one up, because I think we will probably end up moving this one up for sure. And we are. So Duel, moving the Duel down. Duel will move down to let's see. It's already moved down because we moved 7 up, so it's already at number 8. So we're going to throw this one right to number 10, and we're going to keep. So then Lighthouse would move to 7. And Single White Female would move to 8, because again we moved the movie 7 up to number 1. So yeah, Duel definitely going back to the bottom of the list for me. For the time, for 1971, yes, but when I look back at it now and I'm comparing it to these other films on this list, it's definitely getting moved back. So we're gonna keep moving. Misery. I would definitely put Misery ahead of Single White Female. I would definitely put Misery ahead. I would now put it ahead of Lighthouse. I'd put it right behind Lighthouse, but definitely ahead of Duel, no question. So Misery will go down a couple spots again because we moved 7 up, so it's going to at least go down 2 spots. But definitely falls, almost right in there in the middle. Classic film. If you haven't seen it, James Caan and Kathy Bates, definitely check it out. Can't imagine some of these films that no one watching this hasn't seen. So all right, moving on. Predestination. I enjoy this film. It definitely takes a couple watches to fully understand and fully grasp everything, all the intricate things that are happening. I wouldn't put it at number 5. I would put, because I think Misery is just one of those classic films. I would put Misery ahead of this one, but I would not put Predestination behind Single White Female or Lighthouse. I would put it probably before both of those. But I would move Misery up ahead of this one by at least 1 spot. Great film. Again, it's going to be one of those ones where you might need to watch it a couple times to fully, again, understand all the intricate things that are happening. But one of Ethan Hawke's, one of his best pieces of work for sure. Let's see, moving on. The Killing of a Sacred Deer. This is a tough one. I'm going to leave this one at number 4. I'm going to leave everything else that we already have talked about where it's at. Again, excluding 7. So this one technically would now be number 5 because we moved 7 up to number 1. So this one would now be number 5. So I think that I'm good with this one, where it's at, right in the middle. Was a surprise film for me with Colin Farrell and Barry Keoghan and Nicole Kidman. Was a very surprising film. You don't expect it just based off the name of the film. You're gonna expect something completely different. Recommend it. Check it out. Moving on. American Psycho, moving it down. I enjoy American Psycho. We just covered American Psycho, but I am moving. It's already down to number 4 because, again, don't forget, we moved 7 back up. But American Psycho, I would move down even a few more spots. While I enjoy it, I do think some of these other films brought a lot more to the table as far as when I could do a full comparison to top 10 most rewatchable psychological thrillers. I would move this one down a couple more spots. And then number 2, Cape Fear. I would even, you know what? I might get blasted for this one in the comments. I'm even moving Cape Fear. Again, Cape Fear already got pushed down to number 3, but I'm gonna push it down a couple more spots and move some other things up. Cape Fear I enjoy, but again, I think there's been a lot of other great stuff that's come out since 1991, even on this list. So keeping it moving. And number 1, what is it? Okay, so Silence of the Lamb. So I'll switch Cape Fear and Silence of the Lamb around, and with 7 being my number 1, we'll put Cape Fear as number 2, Silence of the Lamb at number 3, and that will round out our top 3. And again, American Psycho moves down, so that will not be in our top 4. I would move the Killing of Sacred Deer up, and actually would stay at number 4, and then I would leave Predestination at number 5. I'm okay with moving American Psycho down to possibly 5 or 6. Again, I'm not saying it's not a good film, but is it a constant rewatchable one for me? It's just not. Again, I enjoy it, but this is, again, the 10 most rewatchable now. Is this something you're going to continually watch over and over again? So, and it's not for me. But yeah, so that's how I would round out my top 10. Again, 7 easily gets pushed. I mean, from 10 all the way up to number 1. I can watch 7 multiple times over and over again. I just think it's just one of those great films. So again, that's the 10 most rewatchable psychological thriller movies ranked. Do you agree? Do you disagree with the author? Do you disagree with me? What are your thoughts? What are at least, give us your top 5 in the comments and let us know what you think. So, all right, everyone, that's going to wrap it up for tonight's show. I just want to say thank you for joining me tonight on this Sunday evening. Again, I hope everyone had a great Sunday. I hope you enjoy the rest of your evening. And if you haven't done so already, please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Definitely helps us out. And if you haven't done so already, or if you don't know, please check out our sister channel, Quiet on the Set, where we pretty much talk about everything else as far as movies and TV shows outside of horror. And as I've mentioned in the past, we do talk about horror content over there, but it's very high level. And again, that's if something breaking happens and we need to, we want to kind of cover it in both places. But otherwise, 99.9% of any horror content is going to happen here at Reign of Horror, and that show again will be pretty much everything else but horror. So if you haven't already, please go over there, give a like, share, and subscribe, and check out the content that we put out over there. So. All right, everyone. Again, I appreciate you joining us tonight. Enjoy the rest of your evening and enjoy your Monday tomorrow and the rest of your week. And we will see you at the next one. Peace.